Stephen A. Smith was completely caught off guard by his co-host's sudden exit. Nobody saw it coming. Molly Qerim, the face of First Take for over a decade, walked away from ESPN in a way that left jaws on the floor. Something serious went down behind the scenes, something so tense it could no longer stay hidden. Now she's landed a massive new deal outside of ESPN, and insiders say the top bosses are absolutely fuming. What in the world happened here? Let's unpack this. The stunning exit that's got fans speechless and the media in total chaos. What began as an ordinary Monday morning at ESPN's Bristol headquarters turned into one of the most explosive, dramatic moments in sports TV history. On September 15th, 2025, Molly Qerim, the calm, commanding force of First Take, suddenly stormed out of the studio, leaving everyone frozen in disbelief. Even Stephen A. Smith himself had no clue what was coming. And the fallout in the next 48 hours sent shockwaves through every corner of sports broadcasting. It didn't just expose a feud, it exposed ESPN's messy truth about how they treat their biggest stars. Picture this. It's Monday, September 15th. Molly's in her usual zone, holding down the chaos, keeping Stephen A. and the guest analysts from going off the rails, and doing it all with that signature confidence and class that made her essential to the show's success. The cameras are rolling, the debates are fiery, and on the surface, everything seems business as usual. But behind Molly's cool smile and steady voice, something was breaking. Frustration that had been building for months was about to boil over. As soon as the show ended, Molly didn't say much. She packed her things, stayed composed, and walked straight out of the First Take studio. Not knowing that it would be her final time there, those grueling contract talks, the lowball deals, the dismissive exec meetings, it all added up. The woman who helped turn First Take into a ratings powerhouse was done being taken for granted. And then, boom! Overnight, while Molly was asleep, Sports Business Journal's Austin Karp dropped a bombshell headline that changed everything. Sources: Molly Qerim leaving ESPN First Take. What was once a quiet behind-the-scenes standoff became public drama overnight, pulling every hidden secret straight into the spotlight. The story wasn't just out, it was everywhere, and the world wanted answers. The bombshell report didn't hold back, it laid everything bare. According to Sports Business Journal, Molly Qerim had officially rejected ESPN's renewal offer after months of tense, exhausting negotiations, saying their visions for the future just didn't line up. After 10 long years sitting beside Stephen A. Smith on First Take, she was finally ready to close that chapter and chase something fresh on her own terms. But here's where things got spicy. The report claimed she'd stick around until the end of the year, giving ESPN and fans time to brace for the change. Well, that turned out to be completely false. And what happened next blew up the internet. When Molly woke up the next morning and saw her private business splashed across every major sports outlet in America, she had one of those enough is enough moments. She wasn't about to let anyone else control her story. Instead of showing up to work that day, Molly flipped the script entirely. And what she did next sent ESPN into a full-blown panic. At exactly 9 a.m. Eastern, she picked up her phone, opened Instagram, and dropped a bomb that set the internet on fire. Her story read, "It is with a heavy heart that I share I'll be leaving ESPN and First Take effective immediately. Grateful doesn't begin to cover my 10 incredible years here. This show changed my life. To the fans, thank you for the love. To my team, your family. Excited for what's next." And then came the hashtags, #grateful, effective immediately. Just like that, she completely destroyed ESPN's timeline. No end of year goodbye, no farewell tour, not even one last show, gone. In a single post, one of the most respected women in sports media shut the door on a multi-million-dollar deal and walked away from the empire she helped build. Fans couldn't believe it. Within the first hour, her Instagram story racked up over 500,000 views, and Twitter went absolutely insane. Molly Qerim was trending at #1 nationwide as people demanded answers. What in the world just happened behind ESPN's doors? How could someone go from hosting on Monday to being completely done by Tuesday morning? It was chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. But the most jaw-dropping moment came later that day. When First Take went live, there was Stephen A. Smith sitting alone at that famous desk, the same one he'd shared with Molly for a decade, looking visibly rattled. As he read the statement confirming her exit, his voice was calm, but his eyes told a different story. You could see the shock, the confusion, maybe even a little frustration. Viewers could feel it through the screen. This wasn't a graceful send-off. This wasn't a warm handshake and a mutual goodbye. This was Molly Qerim walking away mid-season. No script, no warning, just done. Stephen A. tried to stay composed, but the tension was impossible to hide. It was the kind of live TV moment that freezes the room, one chapter slamming shut in real time, leaving fans and insiders alike gasping for answers. Meanwhile, ESPN's top brass were losing it behind the scenes. Total chaos. They'd been banking on controlling the narrative closer to December, carefully rolling out Molly's departure on their timeline. But in one stunning move, the power slipped straight out of their hands. To make matters worse, her exit hit right in the middle of football season, ESPN's money-making prime time. Ratings were supposed to be peaking, debates going viral, and First Take firing on all cylinders. Instead, they were left with a gaping hole in their biggest show and zero plan to fix it. And here's the twist. That first Molly-free episode actually pulled in more viewers. Ratings jumped 15% year over year, hitting a wild 750,000 viewers. But let's be real, that spike wasn't because fans wanted hot takes on the NFL. People were tuning in to see the wreckage. They wanted to catch the awkward tension, the missing piece, and maybe the moment Stephen A. slipped up live on air. The curiosity was electric. It was the kind of messy TV drama you can't script. Social media went absolutely nuclear. Within hours, hashtag Molly Qerim had exploded with 2.5 million impressions across platforms. And nearly 60% of those posts were fans reacting to her bold, effective, immediately announcement. Everyone wanted to know what kind of chaos was brewing at ESPN, but the network's silence, that just made things worse. No statement, no explanation, just eerie quiet from the top. Here's where it really starts to get juicy. This wasn't some random meltdown. This had been bubbling under the surface for months, maybe even years. The drama went way back to January 2025, when renewal talks quietly began, long before her deal was even set to expire. What should have been a smooth negotiation turned into an ugly power struggle that left everyone bitter. Molly wasn't just a face on TV, she was First Take. She took that morning debate show and turned it into ESPN's golden ticket, pulling in over 600,000 loyal viewers and driving ad revenue north of $100 million a year. Under her calm, commanding energy, ratings had surged 45% from 2015 to 2024. She wasn't just moderating, she was holding the entire circus together. But when it came time to renew her contract, ESPN's offer was nothing short of insulting. While Stephen A. Smith was pocketing a staggering $20 million a year, Molly, the woman sitting right beside him, was earning around $500,000. That's a 40-to-1 pay gap. Let that sink in. For someone who kept the show running smoothly, managed egos, and brought in millions of female viewers, the final offer felt like a slap in the face. ESPN came back with a 4-year deal between $700,000 and $850,000 a year, plus a measly 5% annual bump and maybe $200,000 in bonuses. Decent for a rookie, sure. But for the Emmy-nominated host who literally carried their morning lineup, straight up disrespect. And to make it worse, they wanted to stretch her thin, requiring her to spend 20% of her time on side projects like ESPN Plus documentaries, women's sports panels, and branded specials. Basically, they were trying to overwork her while keeping her paycheck small. Insiders called the deal straight up disrespectful, not just because of the numbers, but because it screamed, "We can replace you." And that's where things turned ugly, because while ESPN was lowballing Molly, they were quietly handing out new contracts to others, including a shiny multi-year extension for NBA reporter Malika Andrews. The timing was brutal. The same day Molly's exit hit the wires, ESPN was publicly celebrating Malika's new deal, and fans instantly started connecting the dots. Had they already picked Molly's replacement behind her back? So when that Sports Business Journal leak exposed everything, and from the stalled talks to the lowball offer, it was the final straw. What had been a private negotiation suddenly became a public scandal, and ESPN's spin machine couldn't save it this time. Molly saw the writing on the wall and made her move, fast, bold, and final. She called their bluff, walked away, and left the network scrambling to contain the mess. Even ESPN's president of content, Burke Magnus, had to face the music. In a tense interview with The Athletic, he admitted the leak forced our hand and that things weren't totally aligned on roles beyond First Take. He tried to sound composed, but the cracks in his voice said it all. ESPN got caught, and Molly wasn't coming back. So when she chose a clean break, that was corporate code for "we really messed up." ESPN never thought she'd actually walk. Not like this, not with the cameras still warm and the headlines exploding. They assumed they could pressure her into signing their deal that she'd stay put and play along. But they underestimated her completely. Molly Qerim didn't just quit a show, she detonated the illusion of control ESPN thought it had. Her bold move didn't just shake the network, it exposed the ugly truth about how far some companies will go to undervalue the very women who built their success. And this time, she made sure the whole world saw it happen, live and unfiltered. And if you think Molly's shocking exit was just about the paycheck, oh, you're missing the real story. Because what came next ripped the curtain right off ESPN's power structure and showed just how messy things had gotten behind those glossy cameras. Out of nowhere, former ESPN host turned viral podcaster Marcellus Wiley stepped in with a theory so explosive it lit up the entire sports media world like wildfire. Just 5 days after Molly's dramatic walkout, Wiley dropped a YouTube podcast that exploded. Over 1.3 million views in less than a week. His take? Molly didn't just walk away in frustration, she executed one of the boldest, most strategic moves in modern TV history. According to him, this wasn't a meltdown. It was a masterclass in power. His framing flipped everything. Suddenly, ESPN didn't look like the victim of a diva host. They looked like they'd been outplayed by one of their own. But Wiley didn't stop there. His theory dug deeper than contracts or social media posts. He claimed that Molly had been quietly boxed out by Stephen A. Smith's empire-sized influence at ESPN. And by walking away, she wasn't quitting. She was taking her power back in a move ESPN would never forget. And this is where it gets crazy, because Wiley pulled back the curtain on just how much power Stephen A. really has. We're not talking famous host power, we're talking about a man who basically runs the show from top to bottom. His 5-year ESPN deal, a jaw-dropping $105 million with another $12 million coming from Sirius XM, nearly $40 million a year total. That kind of money doesn't just buy comfort, it buys control. Stephen A. isn't just talent, he's production. As executive producer of First Take, he reportedly gets a say in everything. Who gets hired, who gets raises, and who gets shown the door. Wiley reminded everyone that Stephen A. had already used that pull to boost contracts for guys like Kendrick Perkins, Ryan Clark, and Dan Orlovsky, keeping them loyal while tightening his inner circle. It's not just influence, it's leverage. But there's a dangerous flip side. If you're not in Stephen A.'s circle, you're invisible. Wiley suggested that Molly found herself frozen out, unprotected, and tired of playing along with the politics. And that's when things finally snapped. Because if Wiley's theory is true, Molly wasn't just negotiating with the ESPN executives, she was also battling Stephen A. Smith's shadow approval. Imagine helping build one of the biggest shows in cable history, only to realize your next move depends on whether your co-host thinks you deserve it. That's not teamwork, that's a power imbalance in full view. And guess what? The evidence backing Wiley's theory was right there for everyone to see. Just look at First Take's revolving door of co-hosts. Max Kellerman, gone in 2023 after never quite meshing with Stephen A. Shannon Sharp, bolted to FS1 after months of quiet tension behind the scenes. The pattern was undeniable. Anyone who couldn't fit into Stephen A.'s power structure didn't last long. The proof came down to one key moment: the way Molly left and what her silence said about their relationship. Normally, after 10 years of sitting beside someone on live TV, you'd expect at least a friendly shout out, right? But in Molly's goodbye post, she thanked her fans, called her team family, and yet, not a single mention of Stephen A. Smith. That was no accident, that was a message. The silence spoke louder than any goodbye could, and the tension wasn't just coming from her side. When Stephen A. addressed Molly's exit on air, his tone was tight, polished, but ice cold underneath. It didn't sound like a friend saying farewell. It sounded like a man trying to bury the drama before it swallowed the show. And when he later snapped on camera saying, "None of your business," the internet went wild. Those weren't the words of someone heartbroken. Those were the words of someone cornered. Fans flooded comment sections with theories, dissecting every facial twitch, every word. Was he defensive because he felt blindsided, or guilty because he knew she'd finally outplayed him? Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. Molly's exit didn't just shake up ESPN's roster. It cracked open the entire power hierarchy on live television. It wasn't just a resignation. It was a rebellion against the system that made her feel small. Molly Qerim walked away from the empire she helped build, and in doing so, she might have just exposed the network's deepest secret. At ESPN, power isn't earned by performance. It's granted by the one man who already holds it all. And this time, she refused to bow to it. According to several insiders, the cracks between Molly Qerim and Stephen A. Smith had been showing for a long time. Behind the scenes, their dynamic was slipping fast, and it was written all over the production logs. Reports revealed Stephen A. dominated nearly 60 to 65% of the airtime per episode, while Molly barely got 15 to 20%. She had basically been turned into a traffic cop, steering conversations instead of being part of them. Fans noticed it too. The shift from equal partner to background moderator wasn't subtle anymore. One viral clip from 2024 said it all. During a heated debate, Stephen A. cut Molly off mid-sentence, laughing as he said, "Sentence Molly, I'm talking here." That single moment blew up online. Over 500,000 views, and the fiery hashtag number sign "Let Molly Speak" trending within hours. What Stephen A. brushed off as a harmless joke, fans saw as pure disrespect. Viewers called it out instantly, saying it exposed how undervalued Molly had become on the very show she helped build. But the issue went way deeper than airtime. Insiders claim Stephen A. had near total control over First Take's creative direction, deciding topics, picking guests, and even shaping the tone of the show, all without Molly's say. She wasn't looking for control, just balance. She wanted to add her own ideas, not just referee Stephen A.'s marathon debates. Yet every time she tried, his grip tightened and her voice got smaller. Then came the on-air jabs, offhand remarks about her eating habits, personal life, even light references to her 2021 divorce from Jalen Rose. Some fans laughed it off, but others cringed. A source close to Molly said she hated those moments, calling them humiliating and unnecessary. They chipped away at her professionalism, live in front of millions. All of this pressure eventually exploded, and if Marcellus Wiley's viral theory was right, that leaked contract saga was just the spark Molly needed. By walking away immediately and leaving Stephen A. solo on First Take, she was sending the loudest message imaginable. The show needed Molly Qerim way more than Molly needed the show. Fans went crazy for it. The hashtag MOLLYSREVENGE lit up every platform, pulling in thousands of posts within days. Over 65% of fans in online polls agreed she'd been overlooked and underpaid. Comment sections were flooded with viewers breaking it all down. How Stephen A. dominated every discussion, how Molly's voice kept shrinking, and how ESPN's imbalance was hiding in plain sight all along. But Wiley's sharpest point wasn't even about Molly, it was about ESPN's entire culture. He said the network had built a system where one man's influence dictated everyone else's career path. Stephen A. had access to executives most employees could only dream of. He knew about staffing moves before they happened and reportedly used that access to shape careers, helping allies rise while others stayed frozen. That kind of setup, Wiley said, was toxic, plain and simple. It created a work culture where people had to please their coworkers just to survive. Instead of open collaboration, it turned into silent competition. Everyone looking over their shoulder, trying not to fall out of favor with the boss's favorite. That's not a creative environment, that's survival mode. And it was happening at the biggest network in sports media, and the gender dynamics, impossible to ignore. A 2025 Sports Media Watch study confirmed that women in debate-style sports shows face 30% higher scrutiny and earn 35% less than their male counterparts. Molly's case was textbook. The woman driving the show's energy and balance was offered pennies compared to her co-host pulling $20 million a year. It wasn't just unfair, it screamed systemic bias. When Wiley's podcast went viral, ESPN's leadership scrambled. Burke Magnus, the network's president of content, jumped into damage control, flooding the media with interviews claiming there was no controversy and calling Molly's exit a mutual business evolution. But fans weren't buying it. The fact that ESPN even felt pressured to respond showed Wiley had hit a nerve, and badly. The truth was impossible to hide now. Molly's exit had exposed ESPN's toxic power pyramid. where influence mattered more than performance and where one man's word could outweigh an entire team's effort. She hadn't just walked away, she'd cracked the facade that ESPN had worked years to polish. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more explosive, boom! The story took an even wilder turn. Behind the scenes, a bidding war erupted that flipped the entire sports media industry upside down. Only 4 days after her departure, the U.S. Sun dropped a new bombshell. Fox Sports had swooped in fast, offering Molly a massive deal that made ESPN's offer look like pocket change. We're talking about a 3-year contract worth $2 million a year, plus bonuses that could bring it up to $2.5 to $3 million annually. That's superstar money. And it sent a clear message. Other networks knew her worth, even if ESPN didn't. To put that into perspective, ESPN's final offer had capped her at $850,000 a year. Fox Sports more than doubled it overnight, showing the world just how badly ESPN had miscalculated. For Molly, it was poetic justice, the ultimate power move after years of being undervalued. But the deal wasn't just about the cash, it came with real power. Fox positioned her as a multi-sport anchor, fronting NFL studio coverage, college football previews, NCAA basketball shows, and even launching her own branded podcast. It wasn't just a new job, it was a new empire. Molly Qerim didn't just walk away from First Take, she walked straight into a new chapter that redefined her entire career. ESPN may have underestimated her, but Fox Sports made sure the whole industry knew exactly who she was. A powerhouse who refused to stay silent any longer. Most importantly, the Fox deal gave Molly something ESPN never had the guts to offer: full creative control and lead host power. That's right, the woman who'd been sidelined as a traffic cop on First Take suddenly had the reins in her hands. No more sitting quietly while Stephen A. chewed up 70% of the airtime. Now she'd be running the show, shaping the narrative, and calling the shots. Fox flipped the script completely, turning the former moderator into the main attraction. And those bonuses? Oh, they were spicy. Fox reportedly tied up to $500,000 in incentives directly to outperforming First Take in the 18 to 49 demo, and among female viewers, the exact audience ESPN built around Molly's charisma. Fox didn't just want her on camera, they wanted to weaponize her success against her old network. This was war, and Molly Qerim was the secret weapon. But Fox wasn't the only one fighting for her. Industry leaks revealed that Amazon Prime was circling too, dangling a $1.8 million NFL debate show, while NBC Sports wanted her for Football Night in America or a revamped college football studio gig with an offer between $1.5 to $2 million a year. Suddenly, Molly wasn't a former ESPN host. She was the hottest free agent in all of sports media. The frenzy said it all. Molly Qerim's true value was finally being recognized. For years, ESPN acted like she was replaceable, the referee for the real stars. But the second she walked away, the offers pouring in proved that was a total illusion. These weren't sympathy deals. They were multi-million-dollar power plays from networks desperate to secure a legit star. And ESPN's reaction? Peak corporate spin. Burke Magnus fed The Athletic his usual PR fluff. Our discussions with Molly evolved, and we respect her decision for new horizons. The tryouts ensure First Take stays dynamic translation. We blew it, but we'll pretend it was part of the plan. It was damage control dressed up as confidence, and everyone saw right through it. While ESPN was scrambling for auditions, Fox and Amazon were out there writing million-dollar checks. That's not just a bad look, that's full-blown corporate humiliation, especially when First Take started to wobble right after Molly's exit. At first, the ratings held steady thanks to all the drama-fueled curiosity. But within weeks, the cracks started showing. Guest hosts like Ryan Clark and Christine Williamson tried to fill the gap, but the energy was off. You could feel it. Internal metrics even showed Stephen A's interruptions dropped by 10%, almost like he knew the balance wasn't there anymore. Fans noticed instantly. Tweets and comments poured in saying, the show just doesn't flow without Molly. Polls showed 70% of viewers believed she made the right move and doubted whether First Take could ever feel the same again. Then came the bigger truth. Molly's story threw ESPN's gender pay gap straight into the spotlight. A 2025 Sports Media Watch study found women in sports debate formats earned 35% less than men doing the same job. And that wasn't just data. That was Molly's reality. Stephen A. cashes $20 million a year, while ESPN capped her at $850,000 and expected her to smile through it. If she'd earned even 10% of what he made, a fair split for a $100 million a year show, she'd have pulled $2 million annually. But no, they kept her at crumbs while praising her professionalism. Fox changed that overnight. Their offer wasn't charity, it was validation. Molly Qerim wasn't undervalued because she lacked talent. She was undervalued because ESPN refused to see her as indispensable. And that mistake cost them big. Fox's move was more than just smart. It was strategic warfare. By making Molly their new face, they didn't just sign a star, they took aim directly at ESPN's empire. History shows this strategy works. Skip Bayless took his audience from ESPN to Fox and built Undisputed. Shannon Sharpe did it again with his podcast empire after leaving FS1. But Molly's leap even bigger, because for the first time, the so-called moderator became the main event. Insiders say Molly's been playing this like chess, not rushing into anything, letting every offer raise her value higher. As of late October, she's reviewing multiple deals and keeping her cards close, knowing full well that every network now realizes the cost of underestimating her. That's not hesitation, that's leverage. After a decade of being overshadowed, Molly Qerim finally flipped the game. ESPN tried to box her in with lowball contracts and outdated hierarchies, and instead, they created a bidding war that made her the most sought-after name in the business. So here's the bottom line. ESPN thought they could corner Molly into submission. Instead, she turned their biggest mistake into her biggest win. She exposed the cracks in their system, broke free from a culture that undervalued her, and transformed herself from supporting role to headline act. All in one move. And this saga, it's not cooling down, it's just getting started. So what do you think? Should Molly grab the Fox Sports bag and take down First Take head on? Or will she shock everyone and build something fresh with Amazon or NBC? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, share this video with your crew, and make sure you hit subscribe because this story is only getting hotter from here. See you on the next one.